Now the agenda for this presentation will be like this. Some of the case laws that leads to the amendment, then few important judicial pronouncements. Now few case laws where the courts took a particular view and then the government amended the law based on these regime was this. First was the High Court of Telangana's decision in Mega Engineering, where they said that you have to pay interest on the gross liability, interest to be paid on the gross liability. That is, suppose you have 100 rupees of tax liability, 90 rupees of credit, and 10 rupees of cash liability. Normally, the fundamental the principle was that this 90 rupees of credit is almost in the nature of an advance tax paid by you. Therefore, it stands paid to the department, and you will liquidate it when you clear your supply the goods. So there should never be an interest liability on this 90 rupees. It should be only the 10 rupees. But then the initial provision was that you should pay tax to the total liability. The High Court also took the same view, even after it noted the recommendations of the GST Council that the interest is payable only on the net tax liability. The High Court said that unless the recommendations of the Council comes into play, we cannot look at it. Then the 31st GST Council meeting gave in principle for this amendment of section 50 to say that only be the net tax liability of the taxpayer after taking into account the admissible input tax credit, and then they have introduced the proviso. And in the 39th GST Council meeting, they said this interest provision on the net tax liability will be effective from 1/7/2017. That is from the day when the GST law was introduced. Similarly, there was one provision that said that you can't take input tax credit if you, after the due date of furnishing a return under section 39. Now, initially when GST came, these were the three sections that provided for returns: GSTRN 1 for outward supplies, GSTRN 2 for inward supplies, and GSTRN 3 for consolidating all this and declaring the liability to tax. Unfortunately, the GSTRN 3, which was supposed to be the return that consolidates, was never prescribed at a return in the either the portal or even in the statute. And what they gave was only an time gap arrangement or a stopgap arrangement as GSTRN 3B. Therefore, the court took a view that a 3B cannot be considered as a return, and therefore there is no return indicated under as indicated in 39 that has been prescribed. So that they have amended the law to say that even what is filed under 3B also will be considered as a return. It has its own implications, but then this amendment was made after the High Court passed the orders. Now, some judicial pronouncements where the High Courts have interfered in favor of the SSCs and where they have read down the provisions having the GST in regime is a couple of, we'll just look to two or three. One was in the case of Safari Retreats, the Orissa High Court, where the mall that was paying GST on the rent which it was receiving had constructed the mall with all the various items like cement, steel, etc. The issue was whether the credit on the inputs and input services can be availed, or whether there is a restriction under section 17(5)(c) and D that will not be available for immovable property. So the department said that mall being an immovable property, you can't take credit. The High Court interfered in this and said the very purpose of this act is for collection of tax, and then the whole if you put a restriction like this, it frustrates the very objective of the act. They read down the provision to say that yes, credit will indeed be available. One of the cases in GST where the High Court has intervened. Similarly, this was where the accumulated input tax credit on specified fabrics, which I had pointed out earlier, had lapsed. The High Court said you cannot just like that lapse credit, because once the credit is taken, the manufacturer gets what is called an indefeasible right to utilize the credit. So your provision saying that it will lapse is really bad in law, and then they quashed it. Similarly, in a case of Mohit Minerals, where for a transaction taking place outside India, where the supplier of the goods from outside India engages a transporter who is also outside India for transporting the goods. So the importer here receives the goods, but the freight essentially is paid by the supplier to the transporter outside. So that supply of service doesn't take place in India. The law was that, or rather the provision was made to make the receiver of the goods as the person receiving the service indirectly, and therefore he should pay the tax. That has been struck down by the court to say that you cannot have a GST on a transaction that takes place outside India. This was the latest decision of the Gujarat High Court on VKC footsteps, where, as I was pointing out, on inverted duty structure, the refund was available only on the inputs and not the input services. The High Court examined the entire amendment and said you cannot distinguish between input and input services when you are talking about an inverted duty structure. Therefore, they quashed that notification and said the entire credit would be available. Of course, this is on the GST tribunal, where the manner in which it was initially recommended was that you will have more technical members and less judicial members. So you will have, let's assume, 2 commissioners and 1 advocate sitting in the tribunal. So the apprehension was that if there is a different view, it will always be in favor of the technical members and not in favor of the judicial member. And therefore, the High Court intervened and said you can't have a structure like this. Either you should have an equal number, having 2 and 2, or you should have only 1 and 1. You can't have a situation where you can have more technical members than the judicial members. And the law also, the way the notification was indicated was that the lawyers also can be appointed as the members of the tribunal, unlike the present situation. So only the judges could be appointed. So that also the High Court has recommended to the government to consider to amend the section for including the lawyers also. Now, this is what I was pointing out as the Tran 1 situation. So where the transitional credit was not being available, this is part of those 500 writ petitions I was talking about. Various high courts have intervened and have directed the department to open the portal and allow these assessees to transition their credit. And the various principles laid down in these decisions were like this: that the credit is a vested right, is an indivisible right. In fact, the Delhi High Court went to the extent of saying the credit is in the nature of an property and therefore is protected by Article 300A of the Constitution. Some other High Court has looked into Section 172 of the GST Act and said that you have the powers to remove difficulties. Why don't you do it? Then again, the High Court has said that if for a technical glitch of the portal, the assessee is not entitled to revise the Tran 1, there's a difficulty. The Article 14 could be violated. So these are all various orders passed by the High Court. So in a period of 3 years, we can see the number of litigations that have reached the courts. And you don't have, and this is one where the challenge to an intermediary supply of service was made to the High Court. So where the intermediary, there is a person who is connecting a supplier and an purchaser was in India, one of them being in India, one of them outside. So the law was that since the intermediary is in India, even though the ultimate service is exported, still he is liable to pay the tax. This, the constitutional validity of this provision was challenged, but the High Court has said that the constitutional validity is no problem, that it is constitutionally valid. But then they also left it to the government to consider whether in such situations where essentially the service goes outside India, there should be any method by which the tax can be exempted. So these are some of the, again, on e-way bill, the High Courts have intervened, including the Kerala High Court, where they have said that in these situations you can't detain the goods, because in GST on e-way bill, the number of instances of detention is on the increase. So they said if you don't indicate a GST amount or an issue of a classification or a price indicated of the invoice being less than the MRP, mistake of 2 digits, these are all not situations by which you can detain the goods. Therefore, the courts have ordered the release of the consignments in such situations.